Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all for the session 3 of the Bhakti Pravesa program. Just a moment. So the topic of today's session is Dama, or self-control. So as we all know, this is a 50-session course, and it is divided into 5 themes. And the first theme is Sadachar. And in Sadachar, the first topic we have covered is Atma Shaucham, or the purity of mind. The second session that we did in the last week is Gauravam, or respect. And today we are going to cover the topic of Dama, or self-control. So this particular quality has been stated a couple of times, many a times in the Bhagavad Gita. It is stated as one of the divine qualities. There's in the Bhagavad Gita speaks about the divine and demoniac nature. So Dama is one of the divine qualities. And also it is a Brahmanical quality. Shamo Dhamma tapaschau saucham shantir adjavamevacha jnana vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Shamo Dhammas tapaschaucham. So Dhamma means self-control. Also, Lord Krishna speaks a very beautiful verse saying that those who are self-controlled are eligible for my mercy. Raga dvesha vimuktaischu indriyan vishayascharana atmavashya videyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Raga dvesha vimuktaischu. That is, those who are free from raga and dvesha, that is hankering too much for something or hating something. These are actually the dualities. Sometimes we are so obsessed about something, and after some time we just hate the same thing. This is a duality. Raga, dvesha. Raga, dvesha, vimuktaistu. One who is freed from this excesses, of either hankering too much or hating too much. Vishayan indriyaischaran. That is, who has given up this undue attachment for the Vishaya, material objects. Atma Vashya Videyatma, one who has gained what is called the self-control. Prasadam Adhigacchati. Such a person is eligible for my mercy. So this is what Lord Krishna is stating in the Bhagavad Gita. So these are, and at different places again, in different contexts, the topic of self-control has been glorified, even in Bhagavatam. So, as this is a prerequisite, to receive the mercy of the Lord and become stable in our life, let us see what the modern theories speak about self-control. There's a very interesting research that has happened, which spoke about why a person loses self-control. So this research came out with a very interesting finding that there are 2 reasons why a person loses self-control. So we all appreciate the importance of self-control, right, in our lives. Because of lack of self-control, we do not wake up at the time we want to. Because of lack of self-control, we are unable to get over some habits, even after many times of practice. Either it be it a regular workout that we want to do, or we want to have more control over our diet, or more, more choice about, at what time we want to wake up. Many times we try to do something, we try to be a better version of ourselves, but we fail. Why? Because of lacking this one particular quality called Dama, or self-restraint or self-control. So we all understand the importance and significance of this. And before I begin the session, I would like to humbly admit that here I'm sitting not as a pro in mind control. I have my own humble, struggles with, the variations of the mind and the challenges that mind brings about. But I'm just sharing with you that which I have learned from my superiors and that which I've absorbed from the Shastric studies and trying to practice in my humble little way. So, yeah, the scientific theories speak about there are two reasons for failure of self-control. Number one, very interesting. So, see, people who have researched have nothing to do with spirituality, but please look at these findings. It's a very interesting finding. Number one reason why people fail to have self-control is because they search for alternatives outside rather than addressing the internal conflict. Yeah. I repeat, the number one reason why people lose self-control or lack self-control is because they try to bring solution to a situation externally rather than addressing the conflict internally. The second reason is because of excessive stress. So these are the two scientific findings. So I'll try to explain these two with the help of example. Like for example, let us say we are going through a very tough time in a relationship. And we give into something called anger. And we tend to get into a blame game. Why? Because we are seeing the fault externally, and we always see that there is a solution when the other person corrects himself or herself, right? So that's when we lose our control and we send messages or we all know what we do, right? When we are giving into anger. Rather than that, if a person tries to resolve the conflict within oneself, there is lesser chance that one loses self-control. One is very balanced in the reaction. Number two is stress. Yeah, stress is a factor that aggravates the probability for, losing self-control. Like people who give into bad habits, like drinking or smoking or any other addiction, it happens majorly under the time of stress. Yeah. So these are the two factors that have been identified as the main reasons why a person is unable to hold on to the quality of self-control. They give in to their lower nature. So all said and done, we are living in this age of Kali Yuga. Yeah? So there is a beautiful story that I want to share with you. Yeah, and this might shed some light in what is a probable solution. So this was during the Ashwamedha Yajna that is performed by Yudhishthir Maharaj. And so Ashwamedha Yajna has been performed post Kurukshetra war. Okay, and this is like a yajna that has been performed to declare the supremacy and crown Yudhishthir Maharaj as the emperor. Please listen very attentively because the story has lots of details. If you miss out even a single point, then you really miss the essence. Yeah. So this is after the Ashwamedha Yajna has concluded. So after the Ashwamedha Yajna has concluded, all the Pandavas were assembled there and Lord Krishna was there and all great sages were there. So as everybody was satisfied and they were just making their way back to their respective countries. So when everybody was leaving, two Brahmanas were having a fight. Okay, so two Brahmanas were fighting with each other. Then this caught the attention of Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he was a bit puzzled. This is a grand assembly of such great souls, and even Lord Krishna himself is present here. How can there be a quarrel and that too amongst two Brahmanas. So with this thought, he approached those two Brahmanas and asked, "May I know why both of you are fighting?" So these two Brahmanas said, "Oh Yudhishthira Maharaj, we have a reason why we are fighting, and we humbly approach you for a solution." And they began to narrate what happened. He said, one Brahmana said, "Recently, this Brahmana has sold his land to me, and I bought it. And when I was tilling the land, I found a big treasure in that. And this treasure does not belong to me because I just bought the land and I did not buy the treasure. So I have given back the treasure and he is not taking it." So the other Brahmana said, "Oh Yudhishthir Maharaj, I have sold him the land. And so whatever is in the land actually belongs to him. That treasure does not belong to me. And so how can I take it back?" So in this way, both these Brahmanas were fighting that this does not belong to me and that does not belong to me. And what they are wanting to give up? A big treasure. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj was very, pleased with their high integrity standards. Generally people fight the other way around. So here are the two Brahmanas, they're wanting to give away their wealth. So then what happened? Yudhishthira Maharaj then approached Lord Krishna and asked him for a solution. How do we resolve this conflict? Then Krishna laughs and he says, "Oh Brahmanas, you please come back after 3 months." Then the Brahmanas then leave. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was puzzled. Why did Krishna tell them to leave and come back after 3 months? Why didn't he settle this course right now? Then Krishna said, "Oh Yudhishthira, in 3 months, Kali is going to come and they are not going to come back the same way. And when they come back to you again, they will fight in the opposite direction. So at that time, please note, make the treasure into half and give each of them half. And Yudhishthira Maharaj understood the wisdom and why Krishna laughed. So no sooner, 3 months have passed, and actually the Brahmanas came back fighting, that actually belongs to me. This treasure belongs to me. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, remembering the words of Krishna, actually divides it into two equal halves and just settles the dispute, settles the score. So, so Yudhishthira Maharaj could sense, the signs of the advent of Kali. So as these signs were coming up, there were more and more signs that showed up in his prosperous kingdom. So each of the Pandavas actually got back with some very abnormal events that they have witnessed in different places. So, some of you might have known some of these events, but there are other events which are very interesting in this story, which you might have not heard in the past. So, first it was Bhima. Yeah. Bhima comes one day to Lord Krishna and he gives an account of abnormal things that he has witnessed in the kingdom. He says, "Oh Krishna, these days I've been observing very abnormal visions, sights in the kingdom." And he tells 5 sights that he has seen. He says, "Oh my dear Krishna, I have seen that a fence on its own is moving into the neighbor's farm." This is number 1 that I had seen. And he said, number 2 that I had seen is that, there is a big pot of water. When it was filled, and when this big pot of water was emptied into smaller pots, and when this water in the smaller pots was filled back into the bigger pot, the bigger pot remained half empty. Yeah. So I could not make any sense of this. And not just this, I'd seen something else. I had seen that through the eye of a needle, a big elephant passed through, but its tail got stuck in the eye of the needle. What is this? What's happening? And he says, one more thing I had seen, my dear Krishna. I had seen that there were 5 wells. Yeah. And in the 5 wells, 4 wells were filled with water, but the well right in the middle was empty. Because technically, if few wells are filled, that means that area consists of water. And how come the middle one remains empty? It's very unlikely to happen. And then he says one last thing. He says, I had seen there were 4 shallow ponds and 1 very deep pond. And all the shallow ponds were filled with water, but the deep pond was empty. I mean, anybody who has an idea of water table, this is the most impossible thing to happen. I mean, if there is a deep pond and shallow ponds, one that will have water is the deep one. The shallow ones will remain empty. I mean, depending upon the level of the water. So, but in this case, it was right opposite. All the shallow ponds were filled with water, but the deep pond was empty. And then Bhima was like, with all his gusto, he was explaining that all these abnormal things that he has witnessed in the kingdom. And hearing all this, Arjuna said, oh, Lord Krishna, not just as even I had seen something very terrible. I had heard a cuckoo bird singing very, very sweetly and melodiously. And I followed this cuckoo deep into the forest. And when I followed this cuckoo deep into the forest, what I had seen was very ghastly. This cuckoo, it tore apart a rabbit into shreds and pieces mercilessly and ruthlessly. I was so shocked seeing this. So when Arjuna said this, then Yudhishthira, he took over. Said, oh, Arjuna, you had seen something like this. Do you know what I had seen? I had seen an elephant with 2 trunks. So when he said that, then Nakula said, even I too saw something very abnormal. I have seen a cow licking its calf. Yeah. And how it was licking its calf? It was licking its, I mean, generally, after a cow gives birth to a calf, it just licks off all the amniotic fluid. So that's what naturally does. But this cow was licking the calf so much and so much and so much that not just the amniotic fluid got licked off, but with the vigorous licking, its skin got peeled off and it started actually bleeding. Said, this is what I had seen. Then when Nakula said that, Sahadev, then he told his grand ending. He said, oh Krishna, I have seen something too. You know what? I have seen a big boulder, big boulder means a huge rock that is rolling down a mountain. And as it was rolling down a mountain, nothing could stop it. And it was just rolling down and rolling down. But all of a sudden, a tender plant stopped this boulder. And how do I understand this? So in this way, all the Pandavas, brought forth, very, very abnormal scenarios that they had witnessed. And they approached their eternal guru, their teacher, their friend, philosopher, and guide, Lord Krishna himself, and begged him to explain what's happening. So then Krishna smiles and he says, all these are the signs, the classical signs of the advent of Kali. And each of this that you had witnessed has a deeper meaning and significance. So Lord Krishna begins to explain. First, with what Bhima has asked. Bhima had seen what? That a fence was moving into the neighbor's fence. Yeah. So what does this signify? This signifies that the Kali Yuga, the age of Kali Yuga, is full of greed and dissatisfaction. No one is satisfied with what they have. They always want what their neighbors have. Yeah. So this is exactly what had happened previously in the episode of the two Brahmanas. Earlier, they said, this treasure does not belong to me. And the other Brahmana said, no, it belongs to him because I already sold the uh, uh, land to him. So that was a perfect Ishavasyam principle. What is Ishavasyam principle? The Upanishad says, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kinchat jagatyam jagat tena taktena punjita ma grida kasya sviddhanam. That is, the Ishavasyam principle is when everybody accepts the quota that has been set aside to them and does not encroach upon others' property, knowing that that has been given to him by the Supreme Lord himself. Yeah. So that is, the secret of all peace and prosperity, the Ishavasyam principle. So whoever follows this principle is a part of the solution for the universal peace and brotherhood. So unfortunately, but Kali Yuga is such a period, is such an age, such a dark age, that it is an age of dissatisfaction, an age of greed. Yeah, naturally, just that Kali has invented the same two Brahmanas who were initially not wanting to take what does not belong to them, now want to usurp, now wanted to accumulate, now want to, take what didn't belong to them. Yeah, so this is one classical sign of Kali Yuga: greed and dissatisfaction. They're never satisfied with what one has. So this is a typical scenario in the mall culture that we see in modern day. Yeah. So that's what happened in the first thing. The second thing that we had seen, Krishna explains that you have seen that a big pot of water, when it was emptied into smaller pots, and then the smaller pots, when refilled that big pot, the big pot was half empty. What does this mean? So in Kali Yuga, how much ever love you give a person, the reciprocative ability is much lesser. Yeah, you only can expect only half in return. You can't expect much more. Yeah, no matter how much love you give, the reciprocative ability of the other person is much minimum, much lesser than what it actually is supposed to be. Yeah. So that is in Kali Yuga, the reciprocal ability of a person declines. So all this shouldn't come as a shock to us. I mean, I'm sure all of you who have are attending this session. Most of you are mentors and counselors to many devotees. So as mentors, always, we always face this. We give, and give, but hardly there is any reciprocation most of the times. So we should know that, this is another classical sign of Kali. Yeah. And although we give, we cannot expect in return, because the reciprocal capacity of a person in the age of Kali is much minimized. Then second, the third thing that we had seen is that the elephant has passed through the needle, but the tail got stuck. Yeah. So what does this signify? Yeah. What does this signify? So the elephant, that is a person, they actually invest a lot in one's own self. And when it comes to charity, it's only peanuts. Yeah. That is for one's personal aggrandizements. One is willing to, shower themselves with gold. But when it comes to charity, they just give, they sprinkle some kinds of, some coins. So this is the meaning of, elephant going through the needle, but then getting stuck at the tail. That is the decrease in the ability to give charity, yeah, in people. So people's charitability reduces in the age of Kali Yuga. And the fourth one that Bhima spoke about, that all, four wells are full and one well is empty, is, it's because the presence of the poor amidst the rich. It is, anybody from economics background can relate to this. That in a capitalist society, mostly, the rich always get richer and the poor remain poor. Yeah. So this is also again a typical example of Kali Yuga. And the fifth is, very important. This is the fifth is all the shallow ponds were full, but the big and deep pond is empty. What does this signify? So Lord Krishna says, in the age of Kali, people who are, who have very superficial knowledge or who are even foolish, they gain a lot of followers. Yeah, but people who really have true knowledge and who have a lot of depth and wisdom, they hardly have any followers. So this is very, very evident by the fact, if you open YouTube, this fact is very evident. Yeah, people who have like videos which have millions and millions of views, what are they propagating? Some shallow ideas, yeah, which have no significance in actually bringing about any transformation in the society or doing any good to the individual who is watching it. Yeah, but people who are, who truly have a profound wisdom, very in-depth knowledge, and who have this heart to actually bring about a true transformation in a society, their followers are very limited, if not nil. So that was what was observed by Bhima. And apart from this, what has been viewed by Arjuna. Yeah, Arjuna saw that, the cuckoo, the melodious cuckoo, and he followed it. It was shredding the rabbit ruthlessly into pieces. So this is again a typical feature of Kali Yuga, and especially this is very relevant for all the girls. That is, people speak very sweetly, yeah, but actually their intent is very demoniac and violent. So this sweet singing cuckoo is that who actually project themselves as very polished and speak in very sweet words. But when we come into contact with them, their malicious intentions are revealed at a later date, and they destroy the people when they are trusted, and especially when we follow them. Yeah. So Kali Yuga is full of such demoniac people who speak sweetly, later cheat. Yeah. So this is again, the typical feature of Kali Yuga. And then Yudhishthir Maharaj spoke about, seeing an elephant with two trunks. So what does this signify? So these two trunks signify that people in the age of Kali, they have two faces. So one face that they show to the public, and one face that is, not shown to anyone, but that they have, that's mask. Basically, they wear a mask. Yeah, they have two lives. So basically, it's a life of hypocrisy. They project themselves as one thing to the public, but there's something else, behind the doors. So this is also a typical feature of the age of Kali, which Yudhishthir Maharaj has seen. Yeah. And then later, Nakula, what did Nakula see? Nakula saw that, the cow is actually licking the calf, and it's licking the calf so much that it started bleeding. Yeah, its skin started peeling off, it started bleeding. So what does this signify? This signifies in this age of Kali, parents sometimes pamper their children so much. Yeah, so much that with that excess of pampering, they erode away all their strength and value system. They make them too dependent and too fragile and too weak because of their excessive pampering. So, if anybody has closely, we've been in the educational stream for quite some time, and my husband too is an educationist for the past 20 years. So when he was teaching in some international schools, this was very, very vividly visible. Now, very, very fragile students have become. Yeah. Why? Because of the excessive pampering of the parents, with no focus on actually developing their strength, developing their character. Yeah. All they do is simply pamper, just make them happy. They want the teachers also to make them happy. Yeah. But not responsible. This is what like most of the modern education system or modern schools are all about. The parents just wish that their children are happy. They just become happy, but nobody is interested in making their children responsible, self-sufficient. Swavalambana. There's this beautiful quality called swavalambana. Self-sufficiency. No teacher, no parent is really thinking about giving these kind of skills to the children. All they want is they just want the children to be happy and carefree. They should never, if one tear they shed, it's like a huge alarm bell ringing, and they bring down the whole world. Yeah, they can't take even the child coughing or having a cold. Immediately they run to the doctors. They're not even letting the immunity develop. Yeah. Slight fall, they can't handle. One bruise, they can't handle. Yeah. And if any teacher shouts, forget it. They create such a big, such a big fuss. They don't even, when the child scores badly, they come to the teacher and they, complain that, you're not teaching well. So, gone are the days where teachers, used to hold a stick and they used to, hit the student if they go wrong. Then you can't even imagine something like this right now. Because both the parents and the children have become so fragile. And they don't have the strength to take any opposition from the teacher. It's all about ego pampering, ego stoking. So this is unfortunately the situation of the Kali Yuga. And the final thing, the most important, coming to the interesting point, is what Sahadeva has seen. What did Sahadeva see? That in Kali Yuga, he's seen a big boulder, a huge rock rolling down, but it couldn't be stopped by anything. It was just rolling and rolling. But a tender plant actually stopped it. So what was this? So Krishna explained, not Krishna explained this. He said, in the age of Kali, people's, baggage of sins are very huge, like this huge boulder of rock. Yeah. And because of this huge baggage of sins, which are very heavy, all their, spiritual values, moral values, ethical values, they just come, rolling down under the weight of their sins. So what are compromised? The spiritual values, the moral values, and the ethical values. They all just come rolling down under the heavy weight of their sins. But one tender plant has stopped it all. What is a tender plant? That tender plant is Krishna Smaranam, remembrance of Lord Krishna. Just by the remembrance of Lord Krishna, this whole heavy gamut of, getting, eroded and falling down under the burden of one's own sins, this whole cycle of sin is at once stopped. So why is it a tender plant? Because it is a very easy process. So simply by the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, although this whole age of Kali, which is full of all these so many imperfections, yeah, full of faults. Yeah, you have seen, there is no, there's a greed, there is increase in greed, there is a decrease in reciprocal ability. Yeah, there are people who flock towards all swindlers, and they don't respect the saints properly. Yeah, people who are fake, they gain attention and popularity, and not the people who are genuine. Yeah, and people are masked. They have two faces. Yeah, and the people who speak sweetly often have malicious intentions. Yeah, and we see that, parents, brought up itself is such a way that, even though you're good, you're not fully blossoming into the character that you truly are because of the upbringing of the parents. So in this way, and this whole age of Kali is full of faults. And there are just few symptoms that Pandavas have seen and they have reported to Lord Krishna. So it's fully full of faults. So, but then, yeah, although one is just tumbling down and rolling down and the burden of one's own sins and with all the values eroding, just by taking up to the simple process of Krishna Smaranam, remembrance of Lord Krishna, all that is so burdensome is at once stopped. That is the power of Bhakti. That is the glory of Bhakti. And especially in the age of Kali Yuga, for having come in contact with the process of Bhakti and having begun it, no matter in which stage of life we are in, is the greatest benediction in our life. Yeah. And how grateful we need to be for having this, for example, the second thing that I have told, that people's ability to reciprocate decreases so much. So what does it signify? That means it is the lack of gratitude in a person. Yeah. So another feature of Kali Yuga is people are not grateful for what they receive. So when we when we succumb ourselves to the faults of Kali, our advancement is also blocked. So what is the only way out is, taking up to this process of Bhakti, which can eradicate all the faults of Kali Yuga. So the nature of the mind, so coming to the topic of self-control, Dama. Self-control is, not giving into the dictations of the mind. The nature of the mind is to get into distractions. So what are these distractions? Distractions are nothing but alternative attractions. Yeah. Distractions are nothing but alternative attractions. So the tendency of the mind, like for example, when I want to study, the tendency of the mind is think about, let me see something on the mobile. Let me check my messages, or let me hear some song, or let me watch some movie. So why is the mind always distracted to something else? Because it finds that particular thing more attractive. The nature of the mind is to get attracted to something. So how to deal with this distraction? The way to deal with this distraction is to make the mind be attracted to the right thing. That's the most smartest way of dealing with the mind. Yeah. Instead of stopping the mind from going elsewhere, just make the attraction itself a positive one. Yes. So fortunate are those people who from the very beginning of their formative years of life cultivate these positive attractions. Yeah, then mind is naturally attracted to things like Kirtan, Hari Kirtan, Hari Nam, and devotees association, Seva, Sangha, sadhus. When you're right from your upbringing, if you're attached to this or attracted to this, then mind is naturally going towards that. So you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. The problem comes when the mind is conditioned to enjoying the wrong things. That's when, the whole detour has to happen. That's where this whole question of self-control, Dhamma, comes into picture. Yeah. So that is when self-control or tapasya comes into picture, when we have to give an alternative to the mind. So as I said, if it's there right from the brought up, right from the very beginning years of your life, you're able to, cultivate those positive attractions, it is very advantageous, especially because all of you are so fortunate, you're all young, and it's just you're in a college or in your fresh years of your job. So this is the time when your senses are very active, right? So at this time, when you cultivate positive attractions, like, recently we all have gone to a wonderful Rishikesh Yatra. So all our girls, really enjoyed it so much. So these are all, positive attractions. So exploring the places of spirituality, or, exploring, meeting some very interesting people who are, delve deeply into knowledge. In YouTube, you also actually find some talk shows. I think there is one young person who actually interviews all the famous spiritualists, and brings in a lot of discussion of wisdom. So these are all what positive engagements of the mind. Yeah. And also, like, you coming to the classes and trying to learn more about the aspect of bhakti. So these are all cultivating positive impressions, positive engagements, positive attractions, positive alternatives for the mind. So this is the way to deal with the mind and bring about self-control, especially in the age of Kali Yuga. As I said, the only process is the process of bhakti, which can bring about auspiciousness and which can stop the ill effects. Yeah, the age of Kali in itself is such that it's filled with these faults of greed and, people getting swayed away by the wrong things and wrong people. So the only auspiciousness that can happen is through the process of bhakti, and there is no other way. And to take and to perform this bhakti consistently without obstacles, it takes association like this and engagement in a positive way, as I spoke, the positive alternative that we give to the mind. Today, I want to spend a little more time on question and answers, because I want to hear from you. So now I leave the floor open for questions. Any questions from your side? So before we go to the questions, I will just summarize what I have spoken in today's session. So in today's session, I have the topic being Dama, or self-control. I have spoken about the various verses in the Gita which speak about self-control, and the scientific theories, the modern scientific theories, giving us two reasons because of which people lack self-control. Reason number one is because people look for solution outside rather than resolving the internal conflict. Number two, the stress factor. And then I've spoken to you about the story of, the post Kurukshetra, what happened after the Ashwamedha Yajna, the signs of the age of Kali. I have spoken about what Bhima has seen, then Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Nakula, and Sahadeva, the signs they have seen, and what is the explanation, the profound wisdom that Lord Krishna has given to all of them. And by concluding that bhakti is the process to bring about auspiciousness even in this dark age of Kali. This is what I had spoken about today. And then any questions? Okay, so okay, the reference of the story. This comes in Jaimini Bharat, Mahabharat, what all happened post Kurukshetra war and all that. It's majorly a part of Jaimini Bharat. So I can share that with you. Okay, Riddhi. Yes, there is a question by, is there any specific rule which we should follow before reading Gita? There is, Adarshji, you just have to, reading Gita, you mean to say on a daily basis?
Yes, must.
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to congratulate that you have this beautiful thought of reading Gita every day. And any rule as such, no, it's always nice to start with a pure state of mind and body, with a clean body and mind. Parayan is done. That is in the early hours of the morning. And if you're doing on a regular basis, then do it at a particular time of a day. Like fix up some time, it helps. There are some devotees who always like fix up some time, like it's say 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. in the evening or morning early hours, an undisturbed time. And also you have to see what you want to do while reading Gita. Do you want to recite the shlokas or read the shloka and the translation, or read the shloka translation and the purport that has been given? You want to go deep into one shloka and see how you want to apply it to your life, or do you want to see the flow of thought process of the Gita? There are many ways of approaching Gita. So you have to meet a good teacher who will be able to tell you, what's best for you. There are different methodologies of approaching the great book of the Bhagavad Gita according to your situation and your need. Yeah. So one thing is you can keep it consistent, given at a particular time, and there are no hard and fast rules as such. Yeah. But then to absorb it really nicely, it is better to do it in a clean state of body and mind. That's all I can say. Yeah. So there is a question. There are more questions. Let me just see. Sridevi Garu, so glad that you have joined, Andy. Thank you. Thank you so much. How cause and effect theory, which is truth of this Kali Yuga and Bhakti Marg, both merge. So, what is the cause and what is the effect? I mean, could you explain your question, Andy? Okay, maybe until you write, I will just see the next question. How to practice self-control? It's by cultivating positive attractions, right? Yeah, positive things are not addictive like negative things. Is that so? Yes. So anything we have a tendency to get addicted to are more in the mode of passion and ignorance. Yeah, just like people get addicted to, like let's talk about food in general. Yeah, people can have an excess of, or overeat things like pizzas or biryani or things like that, but we don't see people overeating fruits, right? Because they're in sattva guna. So positive attractions are not like, they're not very attractive like things of rajas. Rajas are very attractive. Yeah. But the pleasures that they give are not long lasting. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Yeah. It is those attractions that are born out of attachment to the senses. Yeah. Dukkha yonaya evate. They end up in misery. Yeah. They have a beginning and an end, and the intelligent people don't delight in that. So that's like the negative attractions I'm talking about. So to cultivate positive attractions, best is to have friends who have those positive attractions. Yeah. So that's how we see most of our attractions, be it, let's say, to some kind of a baseball or basketball, whatever attractions we have to a movie or to some song, most of it, if you look back and really analyze, how did we get these attractions? These attractions we got mostly because through our friends, through our friend circle, or through our relatives. When we see that somebody is enjoying this, we get a feeling that, oh, I should also try this. And most of it is also because of the media. Yeah. In the movie, you see that, this particular movie star is having a good time because they are doing something like this. So we think that even if I do like that, I'll also become happy. This is a visual effect. So things which we associate with creates impressions in us. So when we associate with positive things, we have positive impressions. When we associate with positive people, then our avenues open up. That's why everything starts with Sangha, association. Today, you even ask this question because now you're a part of a wonderful Sangha, a group of devotees, like minded people who are all understanding more about these deeper secrets of the Bhagavad Gita and who are trying to apply it in their life. Yeah, who are trying to see it in a multidimensional way. So, association is most important.
Hare Krishna Mataji, continuation to this question only. So sometimes we feel, is it okay to ask Mataji now?
Yes, please.
So sometimes we feel very surcharged when we are in association Dama temple. So we feel to, okay, let's practice more and more kind of. But when we come home, when we are alone, it is very difficult to maintain that consistency. But it is not also very practical to be in that association always. Maybe temples we can go weekly or in association weekly once it can happen. But daily basis, how to take that small steps, that is very sometimes it is very difficult to figure out how to maintain that consistency.
Very good question that you've asked. When you're in touch, or in the association of those spiritual people, especially when you go to a temple, you feel very surcharged. When you're back home, it's the same thing again. So one thing is, back at home or in your room, wherever you're staying, you create an ambience where what you have taken as inspiration is sustained and not destroyed. For example, so we go to temple and take inspiration, or we meet some spiritual people and take some inspiration, and we come back home. And at home, what is there? Television. And in the television, what we are seeing continuously are some kind of channels which take us in the opposite direction from from spiritual world to Maya. It should not be like that. So you should create an ambience for yourself where what you have taken is actually practiced. So I remember when I was in my college days, and my friend who's actually brought me to the spiritual path, she used to stay in a hostel, and in her hostel room, she used to have a small temple, and she used to clean the place, and she used to put rangolis, and she used to make some offerings, and whatever space is available. And I remember another girl after that, her junior, in the place that is available around the hostel, she planted tulsi plants, and she used to bring those tulsi leaves and used to offer the Lord and worship the Lord. Little worship in whichever place you are. So we need to create that ambience around ourselves, that in a way that it sustains the practice and not breaks the practice. Yeah, in fact, actually, for women, it's a very, very easy thing. They have, the revolution in their hands, the kitchen. So kitchen is the beginning point of all revolutions. So at home also we can engage our time in making something nice in the kitchen and then offering it to the Lord. So many activities. Devotion it's the most dynamic activity because it's very close to the soul. So that's one way, and create one way is creating ambience back at home. Second way is taking some vows of regularity in practices. That is, take a vow that yes, every day I will chant a minimum of 2 rounds, or 4 rounds, or 6 rounds, or 8 rounds, or 10 rounds, or 16 rounds, whatever. So take a particular vow that this is what I am going to do as my sadhana, fixed. Yeah. Let's say half an hour of chanting or 20 minutes of reading. So, this is where when you are consistent by actually taking a vow. So that's a practice that will keep you hooked on. Yeah. And gives you also that internal strength. So again, when you're being consistent this way and you're showing interest, Krishna reciprocates. Yeah. The first verse that I have spoken, Atma Vashya Videyatma Prasadam Adhigachati. Then you attract more mercy of the Lord. So when you attract more mercy of the Lord, you get more opportunities. Yeah, you meet more, people. You get, Krishna's ways are magical. I'll tell you, they're really magical. In one purport of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada writes, for a person who is practicing spirituality in the true sense, yeah, so there is a thrill at every moment. Spiritual life is not boring, it's very, very interesting. If you put your heart into it, you see, miracles happen every day, actually. So that takes you, that kick, once you get that kick, that hang of it, no, that's it, you're consistent. So until you get there, just try to show your sincerity to the Lord and He will definitely reciprocate.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I hope this answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Haribol. The next, yes, Adarsh ji. Yes, I'm from Hyderabad. Aradhana Matiji asks a question. How can we protect ourselves from the temptations? Sometimes it happens that even after knowing right and wrong, we get involved in something which is not favorable for our spiritual advancement. Yes, it's a very brave and important question. Aradhana ji has written, Aradhana Matiji has written that yes, even after knowing what is right and what is wrong, that is, we are able to discriminate with our intelligence. This is right and this is wrong. But we have a tendency to get involved into something that's not favorable for our spiritual practice. So, how can we protect ourselves from such temptations? So, for this, I would say one thing that will always protect us is to have somebody in our life to whom we are really transparent with and with whom we can share. We can be, ourselves totally an open book. We can share our struggles, our, what is it? Everybody has something called a weak point. Everybody has a weak point. Sakshat Yudhishthir Maharaj, he had a weakness for gambling. Who is Yudhishthir Maharaj? He's Dharma personified. Yeah. So, what to speak of us? What to speak of you and me? We're all mere mortals. Yeah. So, self-act. It starts with the self-acceptance that we have our limitations, and then and to have a progressive advancement on the path of spiritual life, one needs somebody called a Siksha Guru and a mentor to whom they can be really open with and discuss one's struggles. So it is through that guidance that one overcomes these obstacles and becomes steady on the path. Yeah, that is why Srila Rupa Goswami says that what he has presented in his books are the general principles, but the details of practice are to be given by the person who is guiding us on the path. So this guidance will really help us to overcome this. And yeah, that is a short way. And how can we protect ourselves from the temptations? This is again, it's an internal homework of creating the ambience, of choosing a stream. Like, let's say, for example, if I'm a student, I can make some positive choices in terms of my career, in terms of my workplace, in terms of my how I want to utilize my energies in the service of the Lord. That's a very positive way of actually overcoming temptations. Whenever we are positively engaged in bhakti, then there is no place and time for these negative things. If you simply love what you do, like for example, this is where the Gita speaks about swabhava, yeah, and swadharma. So everybody has a propensity, a psychophysical nature. When one is engaged as per their psychophysical nature, they really love the things that they do. So when you really love your work, then and you're enjoying your work, there is no time for temptations. So that is why this uh, the time of life when you're making your career and choosing your career path is very, very important, needs to be guided. oftentimes, and if not most of the times, of all the times, why students go astray or why they get so much involved in wrong habits or bad relationships or relationships which are emotionally traumatic is mostly because they are not in the space of work culture which they enjoy. Yeah, they're not challenged because of their they don't find their career challenging or interesting or enjoyable. So that's when they get into all these distractions and temptations. So love the work that you do, and that's one of the very nice ways of overcoming temptations in a natural way. Yeah, and I hope that answered Aradhanaji. So two things. One thing is have a mentor who will guide you through the process of spirituality. And second is always choose the work that is as per your psychophysical nature, that which you enjoy doing, and offer it as an offering to the Lord. Yeah. Arjuna, when he used to go on the battlefield, he used to say that, oh, when I enter the battlefield and I see all the enemies standing in front of me, I feel such a gusto. He enjoys, he loves being that warrior. So that's the secret for excellence. Okay, yes, Shridevi, when we do wrong, we need to pay for it. Okay, yes, which is called cause and effect theory, yes, which is the truth of Earth planet. Yeah. Okay, so going back to the question.
Mataji, could you please repeat the thing that you said about Arjun just a minute ago?
Yeah, I was just reading out the question. Yeah, when we do wrong, we need, okay, there is karma and the effect of karma. Okay. Yes, the truth of the earth planet, right? Then how does bhakti help? Okay, that's the question of Sridevi ji that, yeah, fine. There is in the cause and effect theory is basically the karma theory. Yeah. So what you sow, so shall you reap. Yeah, this is a famous the karma theory. But bhakti is such a unique process that it has the capacity to burn away all these past karmic reactions. This is what has been sung by Brahmadev in Brahma Samhita. Karmani nirdahati kintuja bhakti bhajam. That is, the bhakti is so potent that it has the power to burn away. Yeah, nirdahati. Dahati means to burn away all those sinful reactions that have been accumulated since lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. So that is why Krishna's final declaration in the 18th chapter of the Gita is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyam Mashacha. Yeah, that is, abandon all varieties of religions. Just surrender unto me. I will give you freedom from all sinful reactions. And do not fear. Do not fear means Krishna is telling, have that faith. Krishna is Mukunda. Mukunda means giver of liberation, the giver of liberation from this cycle of birth and death. Yeah. So when we approach through this process of Bhakti Yoga, it burns away all the sinful reactions and reinstate one in their original constitutional position of eternality, knowledge, and bliss. So that is how, although Kali is full of faults, Kalir dosha nidhe rajan astin eka mahaguna. There is one good thing about this age of Kali, is that Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangasya Paramraje. Just by singing the names of Lord Hari, Lord Krishna, it will emancipate one from all the sinful reactions. I hope that answered Andy Sridevi Garu. Okay, I'll just go to Roshini. Is it essential for us to eat Krishna Prasadam for advancement in Krishna consciousness? If not possible or living in hostel, Yes, Roshni, firstly, I would like to congratulate you that you have this slant of wanting to consume only Krishna Prasadam. It's very purifying and very auspicious. And yes, while staying in hostel, this is not feasible. I totally understand. Even I began my bhakti when I was in my internship, when my friends were all in a hostel environment. So how they manage is in your own room, you just have a small photograph of the Lord, and every day you can just offer at least one glass of water or one fruit. Fruits are available, right? Or dry fruits. You can just mentally offer, say, Krishna Arpanam and accept it as Mahaprasadam. So when you do this at least once a day, Krishna sees that sincerity. This Roshni is interested to only take my prasadam. And he gives you all mercy. So the whole bhakti is actually the mercy process. So this is what technically all the students do. This is what I have recommended also most of my students who are all BTechs and they're just completing their BTech now. You can actually get in touch with any of them and ask them. Srinija, Shravya, Sindhuja, all of them. They have practiced KC, Krishna consciousness, in their formative years. From the first year of their BTech. Now they've all finished their BTech and they're all in different jobs. So while being in hostel, how they have practiced, you can ask them. Actually, we have made a video of this. How one of our Sindhuja, how she is she converted her hostel room into a mini temple. Yeah, she's made a video of it and she's posted in our website, Shladini. You can check it out. Yeah. So the idea is in a day, somehow or other, little prasadam should go into your mouth. Yeah, you can make it. Okay, I hope that answers. Next is Srinija. The same story you told, I have heard in different perspectives and different like what story meaning. Okay. Parents' love for children may not be equal. Love of all children together is not equal to even. Yeah. How much ever little practice we did till now, when the time of crisis comes, we succumb to the pain. Sometimes so much that we give up our spiritual practices. How can we control? I mean, whose question is this? Okay, this is Srinija's. So many questions today. That's why I just ended the class much in advance, but okay. Kaliyuga parents and children, parents love each for children cannot be equal to love of all children together. Okay. One second. Yeah. There are different acharyas commentary to each Mahabharata by different authors. Explained differently. No, what I spoke to you is directly from Jaimini's Mahabharata. I do not know what are the other things. Yes, interpretations can differ, but not the main content. Jyotsna, how much ever little practice we did till now, when the time of crisis comes, we succumb to the pain. Sometimes so much that we give up spiritual practices. How can we control ourselves from that pain? At that time, newly cultivating positive things is hard, but previously regularly cultivated positive attractions are also going out of way at the crisis time. How to control ourselves in some such situations? Okay, Jyotsna, it's a genuine and honest question. I highly appreciate this. That yes, all of us do go through crisis. The very meaning of sadhana means that you're trying. Sadhana means trying. See, I give you two examples. There is a bird, like let's say a crow, yeah, or let's say sparrow, yeah. How does a sparrow fly? Sparrow flies with its wings flapping hard. It's always flapping its wings hard to somehow, sustain itself against the gravitational force, right? It's always flapping its wings hard. You never see a sparrow stays still in the sky, right? It's flapping. But you see an eagle. And how does an eagle fly? Very majestic, right? Because the eagle flies high, really high, and at a height where it's no longer disturbed by the forces. That means it has attained an equilibrium by which it just swoops in a majestic way. It need not do the hard work of flapping its wings hard, right? So bhakti is like that. So bhakti, in the initial stage, there's something called Vaidhi Bhakti, and later on we will progress to something called Raganuga Bhakti. So in the Vaidhi Bhakti or Sadhana Bhakti, there is a lot of vigor, there is a lot of practice. And Srila Prabhupada says one should take up this practice like a military rule. What is a military rule? When you join in the military training ground, how they train you in the morning, you don't want to wake up, but they flush water on your face and they wake you up. Yeah. And you don't really want to run around in the chilled mornings, but you're pushed. And in fact, when you fail, you're punished, right? It is a very hard principle. Yeah, the principles are enforced upon you, and they take it up, and over a period of practice, they become highly disciplined, self-disciplined. So Prabhupada says that bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti especially, should be practiced like a military rule. This is, like that sparrow flying hard, doing that hard work. But there comes a stage where, all these things, wrong things go away. Yeah. And you become naturally and spontaneously attracted to the process. That's just because, you have recovered from the fever of, the material fever, and you have regained your health of spirituality. Then, you're like that eagle flying high, majestic. So your bhakti goes smooth, no hindrances. Any time of crisis goes, naturally any crisis comes, you naturally utilize that crisis as a reason to take shelter of Krishna. Yeah. It's not that you'll have an alternative of some material thing and then you have to forcefully go towards a spiritual alternative. No. Spirituality becomes your life. Yeah. So it's a gradual process. So until that gradual process is in progress, one has to adopt a strict rule for oneself. So tell me one thing, Jyotsna, is there anything in this world that is achievable without self-discipline? Even something as mundane as a good seat in a top college, if you really want it, person works hard with a good amount of self-discipline in oneself. And you're wanting, great spiritual heights and perfection of life. How much of self-discipline is needed? So without self-discipline, in the history of this world, no one has ever achieved anything high. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Quotes that I mentioned. Okay, you want to memorize them? Sure, I will send it in the group. Dashti, okay, okay, fine. Yes. So Sri Devi Garu wrote, in simple words, bhakti is a full surrender with purity, which will clear all karma absolutely and absolutely. So, and surrender is also a process. It's something because of at least my conditioning, it's not that overnight I can surrender completely to the Lord. It's a gradual process. And we express that surrender in actions by willing to align our actions by the words of the Lord that are given in the Gita. When I'm aligning my life as per the instructions of the Lord, then it is an expression of my surrender. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. I am preparing for one entrance exam, JEE. I don't enjoy or love this work and study for this. After coming into it, I realized I chose this exam for material attractions, desires, and now I don't have any desire to do that work. What should I do? My parents have expectations and hope on me. So much for this exam, but I'm not able to study for this exam. I can't focus. So this is serious career counseling. Maybe Ishika, if this can be answered on a personal basis, because the answer will vary according to the situation. Okay, so you may just get in touch with me. Sarita ji, you want to teach your students Gita, and same students also want, but someone puts her own decision. Okay, you want to teach your students Gita, and same students also want, but some puts her own decision that is not being supported. Mind starts to make plan. How I can, if you cheat boss, she gets angry in this situation, how to control the mind. When you know that you are doing good for students. Okay, so by what you wrote, I understand that you're trying to preach Bhagavad Gita to your students, and the students are also interested, but the boss is not conducive, not very positive. Puts her own decision that is that yeah, the boss is not supportive. So mind starts to make plan. How can I? So if you cheat the boss, she gets angry. In this situation, how to control the mind when you know that you are doing good for students. Okay, fine. Sarita ji, again in this situation, if possible, make the boss also favorable. So prasadam is one thing that everybody accepts at every point of time without any resistance. So you can give the mercy to the boss in the way of prasadam, and to the students you can continue giving Gita in whichever way possible. If not possible offline, you can give them online. There are different ways of reaching these days. You know, there's so many more methods that you can reach out to the students. Yeah. So one of the reasons I have started online classes is because, you know, colleges are not allowing us to go and give presentations. Okay. Yes. So I really appreciate your spirit. So your mind, how you can control is simply seeing what best can be done both to the boss and to the students, in which way they can be given mercy. And sometimes if you have to do things without the knowledge of the boss, but if you think that it will help the students and it is not costing your own reputation or your job in your own company or wherever you're working, then you can go ahead. If not, it should be executed with care and discrimination. Okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. So I will end here. Today there was a lot of questions. I somehow anticipated this and I ended my class much in advance. Thank you all for your eager participation, and may all of your queries be answered in due course of time by realizations that are blessed by Krishna. So, yes, we do get a lot of clarity through the process of inquiry and answers, but all the answers are realized in truth through the process of devotional service. So, I humbly request all of you to please invest yourself in the sacred process of Bhakti Yoga and connect yourself to the Supreme Lord and make your life beautiful. Thank you all very much. Have a nice week. Thank you. Thank you all. You can stop the recording.